In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, there's a spell intended to banish the cockroach entirely. Be far from me, O vile cockroach. And yet here we are, thousands of years later, watching these insects sprint directly toward us the moment we flip on a kitchen light. It seems like a cruel joke, or at least a deeply counterproductive survival strategy. But the cockroach isn't actually choosing to run at a human. What looks like aggression, or some bizarre homing instinct toward the one creature most likely to crush it, is actually the product of several layered biological systems that evolved long before humans existed, systems that just happened to malfunction spectacularly inside a modern kitchen. The escape reflex begins before the cockroach even registers what's happening. Sensory hairs distributed across the cerci, paired appendages at the rear of the abdomen, detect tiny shifts in air pressure, the kind generated by a footstep or a hand reaching for a slipper. These signals travel to the cockroach's central nervous system in under a millisecond, triggering a pre-programmed motor response that sends the insect bolting in the opposite direction from the disturbance. This system is so fast that the cockroach is already accelerating before any higher processing occurs. American cockroaches can reach speeds equivalent to 50 body lengths per second, which would translate scaled to human proportions to something approaching 300 kilometers per hour. The reflex isn't aimed, it's simply a way. The problem is geometry. In an open field or a forest floor, the environment's cockroaches navigated for hundreds of millions of years before humans started building walls. Running directly away from a threat has a reasonable chance of leading somewhere safe. Inside a bathroom or a pantry, the cockroach launches itself in whatever direction the reflex dictates, hits a baseboard, ricochets along the wall, and follows what's called thigmotaxis, a strong neurological preference for keeping its body in contact with surfaces. Walls, corners, and the edges of objects all feel safer than open space. Humans, standing in the middle of the room, represent a large warm mass near the floor. And from the cockroach's sensory perspective, moving along the boundary of a room often terminates at a foot. Phototaxis compounds the problem further. Most cockroach species are strongly negatively phototactic, meaning they move away from light sources with nearly the same urgency as they move away from physical threats. Flipping on a light triggers two simultaneous aversion responses at once. Flee the light, flee the air disturbance caused by the person entering the room. Both responses push the cockroach toward the darkest, most enclosed space available, which in a typical room is the area near the floor and near large objects. Shoes and trouser legs cast shadows. They also sit at exactly the height a fleeing cockroach reaches when it travels along the base of a wall. The insect isn't seeking out a human. It's seeking out the dark patch the human is inadvertently creating. There's also the question of chemical signaling. Cockroaches communicate extensively through pheromones, and when one individual triggers an escape response, it releases alarm compounds that travel through the air and affect nearby colony members. German cockroaches, which live in dense aggregations inside wall voids and cabinet interiors, may have dozens or hundreds of individuals responding simultaneously to a single disturbance. Each one is running on the same basic reflex, away from the stimulus, toward enclosed dark spaces. And when that many insects scatter in a confined area, statistical probability alone ensures that several of them will end up at or very near the person who caused the alarm in the first place. It reads as swarming. It's actually chaos. The cockroach's body is extraordinarily well suited to surviving whatever happens next. With a flattened exoskeleton that can compress without structural failure under forces nearly 900 times its own body weight, an American cockroach can be stepped on, absorb the impact across the length of its thorax and abdomen, and continue running. Its detoxification enzymes handle a range of chemical threats. Its immune system carries duplicated gene sequences that produce antimicrobial molecules rapidly enough to neutralize pathogens collected from sewers without consequence. The entire organism is built around a simple premise refined across 300 million years of evolutionary pressure. Perceive a threat, move away from it as fast as possible, squeeze into the nearest available shelter, and survive. That it does all of this in a way that consistently ends with it running across a human foot is not a flaw in the design. It's a reminder that the design was never intended for the world we built around it.